There is a war in the lower planes of the universe. Each side struggles for support, and each side forms a force of might. From the abyss, the demonic hordes spawn out of the river Styx and spill over into the wastelands of Avernus. Here, at the base of the nine hells, the infernal legion, the devils, defend on their home territory. The demons desire to plunge the universe into chaos and madness, while the devils seek to rule it with an iron fist. Both sides believe themselves to be justified. Both sides believe themselves to be justified. And both sides present a threat to our world. For no matter who wins, we lose. This is Bonsari.
I will protect my friends.
Then I'll make sure they need protecting. And you feel the ground shift below your feet. And in a perfect concentric circle, the ground begins to fill up with this hot magma level. Bramble, you're standing in the middle, Hey, you're standing in the middle of the circle, and you can sense that the portal is beginning. Dare you beckon your friends? Do you gather inside the portal, assuming everyone wants to stand inside? The ground shifts below like a plate has just dropped about 6 inches into the soil.
Enjoy the cold. It's the last we're going to feel for a while.
And you feel yourself rush deep within an oven of heat. A blast of biting sand begins to tear away at your skin, ripping through your clothes, and you see nothing around you as you're caught up in this wild sandstorm. You begin to get pushed left and right, and you can hear the howling wind and feel every once in a while grasp a hand of Felthrin, a shoulder of Garandan. Haze back, find yourself completely blinded, near and completely deafened as you move through this sandstorm of waste. You feel hot ground beneath you. You hear the buzzing of flies all around you and this foul smell of rotten eggs. How do you navigate through this horrid desert wasteland? Garandan.
Garandan is, it's bittersweet because he's been here before and he didn't think he would get back so quick. It's been a year and a bit, but he kind of starts seeing some things that are familiar after he'd done some sojourning in this realm. And so he's navigating by just, looking for signals and signposts and stars and things that he might not understand.
Bramble, how are you responding to this sandstorm and this complete blindness and deafness?
Bramble's been doing some training with limited sight, but he uses hearing to back that up. So he's out his top 2 senses. He's floundering.
Oh boy. All right. Hey, you can feel Bramble reach out instinctively and grab hold of your cloak. The two of you are now bonded together physically. How are you responding to this blind of deafening sandstorm?
I pick him up and hope he doesn't take offense. And I take my tunic and I wrap it around him and try and create just a little, like a little cover to maybe try and give him some kind of shielding to his vision. I'm doing this, trying to shield myself and push forward. I have heightened senses because I picked up alert as a feat. And so I'm just trying to use the tiniest smell and audio details to try and guide me through this very harsh terrain.
The only thing you pick up is the flapping of wings. Bramble, once your ears are shielded a little bit from this blinding blasting, you get the relief from the sand stinging against your skin. You begin to feel a little bit of blood trickle on the top of your lip. You hear it as well, the beating of wings. Felthrin, blind and deafened, how do you proceed through this sandstorm?
Felthran puts his hammer in his shield arm, and with his left hand is just frantically waving it around, trying to make contact with any of his friends.
Okay. I would like you to roll a athletics check.
So thanks for not doing that with your hammer.
16.
It's enough. You find Garandan. You can feel his body very quickly, and the two of you are now united. Garandan, you rolled a natural 1 for survival. All right. The guide leads you, and you begin to file away into a line, and you quickly link arms together. Hay, you are holding Bramble. Felthrin and Garandan, you are leading the pack, and then Felthrin, you grab hold of Hay. You find his cloak, and you are pulled along by Garandan, who leads you. Of course, Garandan, you're the first to experience it. Your feet begin descending in this slop, and you feel this strong, tar-like sticky substance, and you are restrained. How do you respond to this?
This wasn't at all what he was expecting, but as soon as he kind of goes to try and pick his other leg up, he just stop, and then feels the pressure on them, and they're just starting to bend a little bit.
Felthrin does not hear anything, so Felthrin, I'll give you a dexterity saving throw to see if you can respond to this. Hay and Bramble will be okay. Felthrin at risk.
10.
10 is enough. You quickly hear, 10 is not enough. You are 1 foot in the slop as well, and you feel yourself restrained, stuck in this moment. And then it happens. These large buzzing creatures begin to descend upon you, and blinded and deafened, you feel these clawed vulture-like hands begin pulling away, these abyssal shrieks crying out, we got one for supper. They landed right into the trap. We got one. Well, let's roll initiative.
Ugh.
Every single one of you is blind and deafened until you're able to move out of the sandstorm, which means everyone has a disadvantage on attack rolls, with the exception of Bramble. Bramble, you have straight roll because of your ridiculous senses and Hay's attempt to kind of help you out with this blindness. So the deafness is still working against you, but it's not causing disadvantage. Felthrin and Garandan, your speed is 0, and you have disadvantage on attack rolls and disadvantage on dex saves. The Vroks are at the top of the turn. These horrible demons, these predatory vultures begin to attack. They're going to go for Hay first. That's going to be a 22 to hit, 14 points of damage, and they don't see Bramble. They just assume this is a very rotund prey, but they're going to go for Garandan and Felthrin as well with advantage. That's going to be a 22 for Garandan and a 26 for Felthrin. 14 points of damage to each of you. Top of the round, Bramble, how do you respond?
He's able to see the shapes sort of dimly moving. He feels Hay shifting as he is attacked. And so he turns in Hay's arms and sticks a sticks his glove of firing out and shoots one up basically right above Hay's head.
Yeah, and you can feel that large claw descend on Hay's shoulder and squeeze into his skin, and you just lay the glove of firing on his ankle and just fire straight up.
It's a 27 to hit.
Indeed.
It's a lot of d6s for a sneak attack. Well, it is 8d6 sneak attack. And then he'll, as he's shooting that, he said, "Hey, I'm down here." Yeah, Master of Tactics. So the next attack against it would have advantage, which would cancel out the disadvantage.
It pulls and says, "This one's speaking from his stomach."
Stomach speaking is literally the meaning of the word ventriloquism. Yeah. So let me see here. Can you describe again? Have I been lifted up off the ground?
No, thematically, yes. It's like clawing you, trying to lift you up off the ground, but mechanically, you're just in melee combat.
I'm going to help it. I'm going to use another invocation of Ascendant Step, and I'm just going to go straight up. It allows me to cast Levitate.
Oh, okay.
At will. I can cast it at will without expending a spell slot or material components. And so I'm just going to go straight up 20 feet. And does that take me out of the sandstorm effect?
Yes, it does. And it surprises the rock just like falls backwards and releasing you as you shoot up out of the sandstorm. You can see it's in it's in this very small area, and it's not even like 50 feet. It's just a concentrated cloud of a trap set right above a sigil. And you see there are 3 rocks that are kind of like shooting down back and forth. And Bramble, hang on tight.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of a challenge, so let's go ahead and do a dex save just in case.
For both of us or just him?
No. You easily levitate. I just think I want Bramble to respond to it.
25.
Yeah, easy enough. You clamp on tight, and y'all are both levitated, skyrocketed. Bramble, you sense the sandstorm release, and so at the top of your turn, you can clearly see.
Yeah.
This is just a 50-foot circle.
And to finish my turn, I would like, as hopefully a free action, just to yell, "Garandan, Felthrin, just run in one direction."
Yes, falling upon deaf ears, Hay tries as hard as he can. Okay, well played. Oh my gosh, good play. Garandan, you are 2 feet in, completely stained in this slop, and you have a Varrock demon vulture doing the same thing, attempting to lift you up. It's not really working, so he's going for more of like just slashing you until you bleed out. You can feel Felthrin at your side, but nevertheless, you're all in melee combat right now.
Okay. So, would you say all 3 of them were within 30 feet of me?
You wouldn't know that?
Yeah, I know. So they all. So basically, Garandan is gonna bring up his shield, duck underneath it, and channel divinity, his radiance of the dawn. Anything in a 30-foot area needs to make a Constitution saving throw.
I think that's what. I mean, you can assume that birds of a feather flock together, right? Rarely does something attack you in a storm, so I like that. So con save from. There's 3 creatures currently.
Anything or any enemy?
Enemy. I'm never trying to attack y'all.
Well, never trying.
A 15, a 17, and a 20.
The 20's good. I got an 18 DC. And so it dispels any darkness within 30 feet, but I don't know if it dispels anything else. Okay. And then it's 2d10 damage plus my cleric level, which is 8 plus 16, 24 damage to the ones that took it.
So you can feel the energy heat, and just like echolocation, you can almost feel the radiant energy slap against a abyssal creature. The ones that are grabbing at you and Felthrin take 24 damage, and the one that completely let go of Hay and Bramble, you watch as it incinerates. And as it dies from this radiant heat, you sense that unlike the devils exploding into puffs of smoke, these demons just glob and splat, splat, splat. It lands on the ground in this demonic, oily, slick substance. Good round. Anything else, Garandan?
He's just gonna yell. Because he's just mad that he's stuck.
So you yell and nothing comes out except the sand just blasting through your mouth, cutting through your cheeks. Felthrin, bottom of the round, it's your turn.
So you said I have 1 foot stuck.
Yes.
Do I feel like I could free myself, or?
With an action, you could. I think Felthrin could easily do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's what he would do. I think he would try to get out of the stuff so that he could be on sure foot to fight.
Still going to be a check, so I will let you do let's do a strength saving throw.
17?
That's enough. So you take your time, you just kind of pull your knee and rip it out of this horrible sucking sound, like a tar pit. Begins to pull back, and you're unrestrained. Anything else you would like to do?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Top of the round, the two are going to make an attempt. Ooh, natural 20 and a 27. All right, so Garandan, you're going to take 28 points of piercing damage. And Felthrin, you're going to take 14. Even with this radiant energy, they don't seem to give up so quickly. So tearing apart at you, they just begin to rest back and forth. And the one that's on top of you now is completely arms and legs, and he's picking his beak into your neck, Felthrin.
Yummy.
Bramble, high above the sandstorm, you see for the first time the horizon of Avernus, lit with this eerie, dim, red light, ascending from no particular place, as there's no sun. These clouds of darkness looming forward as meteors fall from the sky. As far as you can see, rocky plains, petrified forests, and the foothills of cragged mountains exist as far as you can see. Up here, 20 feet. How do you proceed?
Can I see them, the rocks down inside the sandstorm?
I think you could.
Okay.
You can kind of see like the sand beginning to move, like shadow back and forth. You can see the silhouette of a dwarf struggle. Go ahead.
I think. All right. Let's live a little. Okay. Bramble's gonna say, "Let go, hey!" and he's gonna try to dive down onto this thing or near it, at least like showing its location to Hay, if nothing else.
Okay, easy enough. So Bramble, you just let go and dive down into the sandstorm.
Yep, drawing Queen's favor for hopefully a slash on the way down.
Yep, I'll let you do it with single roll.
Okay.
Going for 16.
14. Oh, it's actually a 15 with Queen's favor. So close.
You go for it, and you. How do you miss?
I think with the sand shifting all around, he's got his eyes locked on it for the whole descent. But right as he's getting ready to slash, something shifts and that distracts him, and he thinks maybe he didn't have it located the whole time, so he redirects at the last moment and slices cleanly through sand.
It does, and you feel yourself being hurled. The reason you missed is because you find yourself wrapped up in a net. As it slaunched through the sandstorm, this net wraps around you and the ball's completely tying you forward, and you go tumbling through about 50 feet away. Lying on the desert floor, you are completely wrapped around this very crude net with these rocks tying it apart. And you find yourself completely out of the line, and you look around and you can see there's these little fairy fey creatures laughing and cackling, and they're launching these like net bolts at each of the rocks and trying to capture these demon creatures. And in the process, they've completely torn you from the battle. And hey, it is now your turn.
From my elevated position, do I see any of the rocks flying around?
No,
okay.
You don't.
Do I see any enemy targets whatsoever?
see that's just this mess of sandstorm beneath you. It's anybody's game to find out what happened. You're out of harm's way. For all you know, Bramble descended into the sand.
Yeah, there's
gone from your sight. You are literally alone. You still have the same view of Avernus right now.
Does my devil's sight help me at all with the sand?
No.
Okay.
No, I think that would help you peer through darkness.
Yeah, it's written.
This is like a wall. This is a physical obstruction.
I've been in a sandstorm.
Yeah, but for mechanical purposes, it's like staring. So devil's sight wouldn't work.
Let me just say, it's interesting to see a mustard yellow wall coming towards you across the desert. It's interesting.
Oh my gosh.
So
Was Bramble slung outside of the sandstorm?
Yeah, you fell into the sand pit and then shot out through the side.
Okay.
So you're beyond the sand pit, rolling in the dirt right now.
Okay.
I'm going to try this. I'm just going to shoot one Eldritch Blast down into the sand and see what happens.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you want that as disadvantage?
Disadvantage, yeah. Disadvantage attack, and of course it's ridiculous AC.
16.
No, I think that's perfect. 16 on the money hits Avarok. Yeah, because that's exactly their AC. It's very unlikely you'd get exactly a 16.
Hay
Awesome.
looks surprised for a moment, and then he just gets like this little look on his face.
Yeah, and what you see in the sandstorm, the outline of this vulture creature, as soon as the eldritch energy blasts up into it, it silhouettes it within the sandstorm, and you know you've made contact. Please roll your damage.
Max damage for a total of 14.
Okay, that'll do it. The silhouette illuminates for a second, and then Garandan, you feel one just drop to the ground next to you and begin to slowly sink into the tar pit. Not bad. Garandan, your turn.
Garandan, he's still really stuck and does not know what's going on, but he knows he's taken some damage, so he's going to pray for healing for anyone within 30 feet of him. So,
how high did you go? Hey, how high? 20?
20 feet. Yeah, I'm just hovering at 20. That's the max.
Okay. So that's everyone but Bramble.
He's casting it at the 4th level. It's going to be 16 points of healing. So,
Garandan, if you'd take a moment to really zone in on this prayer.
Absolutely. So he's got his shield up, the light shining out, and he's like, Moradin, even in the dark places, you shine bright. Will you heal my brethren? I don't know what's going on right now, but I know we need you. And
as you cast this prayer of healing, Garandan, you sense this sandstorm is like a paper tiger. Simple, small creature designed to be a very large monster in your mind. You know that if you could only rest your foot free and just walk in faith through the sandstorm, the way out is through. Felthrin, you've heard this prayer. You sense the presence of Moradin. You sense the presence of your brother, even this terrible place, and you sense the way out is through. As this healing magic begins to move through your body, invigorating you, how do you proceed?
If I sense through the, I wouldn't leave Garandan though. I would.
I mean, you could take him with you.
I would grab a hold of Garandan and try to yank him out of the muck.
Let's do. That's going to be an athletics check though.
I like that one better.
don't forget my boots.
18.
Ooh, yeah, I'm going to give it to you. You do leave your boot behind though. It's just stuck. You just rip it through. Bootless. You drag him forward. How far is your movement? 25. So you could only go. You could only go about 15 feet. So you're kind of plowing along straight through. There's a small chance that you're at the corner of the sandstorm. So if you would just roll a d4, and we're going to compare results.
I rolled a 1.
I rolled a 2. So you go the wrong direction. So you push through the sandstorm. Nevertheless, you have Garandan. That's going to incite a little bit of an attack of opportunity. That's going to be a 23 to hit you. Felthrin, you take 14 points of damage. And at the top of the round, the Vrock, crazed with energy, is going to run. I think it's going to go towards just Felthrin again. Keep it simple. That's going to be a 16 to hit.
No.
And as you just move on, soldier on through the sandstorm, dragging Garandan alongside you, it scratches and blindly just collects a large amounts of sand and curses in Abyssal. Top of the round, the sandstorm begins to dissipate. It's starting to shift a little bit, kind of move to the side, with just one Vrock left. Bramble, you're in a very interesting predicament, being restrained by this net, but it's like a very crude net. You can actually put your hands through the lattices. So how do you proceed?
I think he's gonna just activate the circlet of teleportation and just burn another use of it to be standing up, 15 feet away.
Yeah, just and the net goes flat to the ground. The second time you've used this little circlet. Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Hey, in your confidence, would you like to finish this off?
Sure.
Okay.
17.
17. That's enough. Yeah. It starts grazing off the side. You can see that you struck it a little bit. Even with max damage, it decides to turn tail and flee. And you begin to see a rock kind of push past. And you can see now it's got this large, gangly, vulture-like head with a human's body. It's got large, feathery black wings and claws for hands and feet as it scrapes along in a very disorganized and inefficient pattern. You just fire one Eldritch Blast after the other as it chases through the sandstorm and finally drops down dead.
Yeah, and then I'm going to use Prestidigitation to make a shower of sparks as it hits the ground. I'm trying to dress it up like the lady wanted me to.
A little bit of chaos ensues, and the demon begins to melt and disintegrate into a pool of ichor. Four of you are now standing, Felton and Garandane. Easily you press beyond the sandstorm, and as the presence of the demons dissipates, the sandstorm also dissipates, and you find yourself met with a blasting heat. Large, eerie red light glows in the distance beyond the border of mountains. Though there's no sun visible, you can see a sickening light. As your eyes take a minute to adjust to the haze, the smell of sulfur and burned hair lifts on the horizon. You see the foothills of sharp mountains. No vegetation save petrified forests. You find yourself in Avernus. Everyone make a Constitution saving throw. Low number loser.
Nat 20.
I have 19.
Oh, Bramble. Okay. Bramble's the low number then. Bramble, you find yourself taking 1 point of exhaustion.
Okay.
The heat is overwhelming. It's not humid, it's just dry, and after taking a tumble, and your face is just completely bloodied from the sand just tearing away at your skin. When y'all see Bramble, you see that his flesh is nearly peeled off of him as the sun blast and the sandstorm has completely ripped away his flesh.
What did you guys bring me? This is horrible. Where do we go?
As you're in this situation, Garandan, what are you paying attention to?
Garandan's looking at Bramble's face and is wondering if he's going to have to try and turn the undead. but then he's looking around again for familiar sights and making sure that everything's gone that was there.
Besides seeing some caves, foothills, occasionally a lava pool, the sandstorm dissipates and you see that there's a very distinct teleportation sigil with the coding to Bonsaro, your home plane, and begins to disappear in the dirt, but it's marked by a single obelisk, a mile marker sign, just indicating travelers of planar existences that this is a transportation ring. And right next to that is a pool of rotting demons. You see vestigial parts, heads and arms begin pulling from the tar pit where they have slowly disintegrated over time. What each of you notice now is what you didn't notice before is there's a large vacuum-like hose that is sucking the ichor up into a small little mechanical motorcycle that is loaded up with a large tank on the outside, and these small little like fey creatures with these large eyes, nearly cute, big mouths, and they're bumping around, hopping rather than walking, and they hop forward and they quickly pat, and they're cackling and they're laughing and they're dancing, and they're pulling all this ichor out of this pond. And one of them slaps the tank and says, we got enough, let's go. Very much like your friend Basil, they kind of bounce back and forth between ideas. And then one of them goes to rush towards Bramble to collect his payment and sees that the net is gone. He looks around the net, back and forth, and then he sees Bramble's face, and slowly scampers off, leaving the net behind. These creatures hop on this motorcycle, and you hear this large engine begin to rev up as it issues this black smoke, and they tear off into the distance, leaving behind a tire track.
This is a weird place, and it's so hot.
Wait, hold on. And I just use my heel to dig like a little depression in the ground, and I just blast ray of frost down into it. It'll be momentary, but here, put your hands on this.
Nothing happens. Surprisingly. The magic takes place, but within a millisecond before Bramble's hand can get there, it disappears.
Then I'm going to shoot him with it.
Ooh. That's scary. Go ahead and just take 8 points of frost damage, Bramble, as he blasts into you. It's common mistake shooting your friend. It hurts worse.
I won't be doing that again. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Ow! It felt okay, I guess, but it did hurt a little bit.
Dan, grab your shoes and let's get out of here.
Yeah, I don't want to burn my feet off. That's a good call. Where was that?
Once again, Felthrin leading the way. I would like to know how you're proceeding. You see the tire tracks. You see a cave off in the distance. You see mountains. It's very difficult to know north, south, east, and west, but you do have a map. There's some chance of success of you navigating through here.
Actually, I'm going to tie a rope around my waist and hand the end to somebody, and I'm just going to levitate again. And you can drag me around, and I'll be a distant lookout anyway.
Felthrin will grab the...
Okay, grab like a kite on a stream.
That's right,
Felthrin
exactly.
walks by, and hay, very obviously flying, levitating in the distance. That is quite a scene as you march along through this wasteland.
You know, Felthrin took a good look at the map, and he also has the Wanderer ability to know where he's going after he's looked at a map. So I know that might not be clear help here, but should help at least a little bit.
Sure, I can let you do a survival check with disadvantage. This place is completely foreign. What is up is down and down is up, and it is incredibly difficult to pursue through.
That's disadvantage 18.
Sweet. I was going to say, with me shouting down feedback, maybe that would take away the disadvantage. I don't know.
Maybe eventually, but as you're pushing on through this part, you're beginning to sense hunger and thirst as you march on through this next hour. The hunger is overwhelming, and the thirst is parching your body. This is a problem. I would like to know how each of you proceed.
I'm guessing finding food and water for myself and up to 5 others is not going to work so well here.
It does not. And as you dig into your pouch for rations, you begin to bite the food that you've taken. It does satisfy your hunger, but it tastes of ash. And it explodes in your mouth in a soft powder, drying you out even further. The water you drink tastes foul and rancid. Nevertheless, it is wet. This place is indeed harsh for mortals. Garandan, I need you to make a wisdom saving throw.
21.
It's actually pretty good. Terrifying fright begins to overwhelm you. For a moment, as you put your boot back on and you begin marching on, you see your friends ahead of you, maybe a couple steps, and all the memories come back. But I need to know how you pursue through this, because you are successful in avoiding a total mental breakdown.
So like a good dwarf, he sees the cave and he just knows that he's out in the open. He feels like, I would say, like a small critter with a hawk with its eyes on it. And just once he's got his boots on, he's not thinking about his friends. He turns tails and runs to the cave. Runs to that familiar dwarven feeling.
So you're heading towards this cave? The three of you, out of nowhere, right before you get to this cave, this large meteor just drops from the ground, this large dark cloud, and everyone needs to run to the cave as soon as possible to suffer the effects of this fireball launching from the sky, this natural disaster. Please make a dexterity saving throw as you rush into the cave to escape this meteor shower.
18.
6.
27.
You'll take 42 points of damage unless you got over a 20.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel bad for bringing you here, Felton.
You should. This is horrible.
This natural rain just begins to fall as you've narrowly escaped this firestorm. Outside, you can see now that the weather has changed. Little drops of fire have dropped onto the ground. Although the push of the meteors have subsided, there's little bitty embers and ash that are gently falling from the sky, floating down to the ground, lighting everything up. The lava pools in the distance begin to glow. Nevertheless, you are within the cave and sheltered. You begin to feel tired. You begin to feel the effects of needing a rest. I can see each and every single one of you, a hand on the cave, huffing and puffing, singed and burned. Worn and scorn out. Bramble, your skin is just charred and beginning to crack and peel. This moment of desperation, this moment of regret, possibly, I can sense it from Felthrin. I need to know exactly how you're processing this very, very dismal outlook.
Felthrin has no real understanding of which way to go. I think he may have a sip of ale left, but that's about it. Yeah, I mean, this is a dire situation. He hasn't been in a situation like this ever, and he's already so adverse to anything that has to do with these evil planes. I think despair is probably the right word. He's just like, he wants to run out of the cave and choose a direction and hope it's right, but he's going to show as much restraint as he can to wait on his friends to see if somebody has a better idea.
Hey, you see the despair from Felthrin, but how are you processing this very dismal?
I see Felthrin, and it hurts Hay to see how desperate Felthrin looks. And so he thinks for a bit. He weighs a couple things in his mind, and then he reaches into his pouch and pulls out a stone, a twig, and a piece of some dried up green plant. And he places them down, rearranges them a couple times, and then a 150-foot cube area around us changes to look like a lush garden with a little fountain. And I look at Felthrin and say, if we don't do what we're supposed to do here, then I think we're looking at what our future is. But this is something to hold on to. This is something to remember. This is something to work for so that we don't lose this. can you stick with me, Felthrin? Can you help us all?
Yes, I will stay here. But we've got to do something soon. I'm going to cook here in this frying pan armor.
It's hot for all of us, yeah. So that was hallucinatory terrain.
Nice. Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It kind of lingers off, and everyone you can see the presentation of Grovelore Forest, Crypto Garden, this wonderful place that has been a haven for each of you, and it is quite a shock to see your senses absorb all this agony and heat and despair. It's the vigor feels like it's being sapped from your body, and then you see the presentation and Hayes' speech. During that time, Bramble, how are you processing this dismal outlook?
Bramble's been very much, for a while, trusting in his own body and mind. That's kind of been his faith, his religion, when he can trust. But in the last year, he's been looking a little bit toward Moradin. He doesn't know what strength Moradin has here, but I think he's, the things that he instinctively depends on are failing him. So I think he's going to be inclined to be a little bit more religious here, maybe even say a prayer for some help from Moradin. And, maybe even pull in Garandan with that. Garandan, can Moradin help us here?
I have felt him here. And then Garandan, he's kind of on his knees and panting anyway, and you can see that he's visibly shaking from this fear. And he is clutching his holy symbol. He is taking deep breaths and hearing this faith from a young halfling that doesn't really, he's just kind of finding out about Moradin now. He's wanting Moradin's presence to come on this area. He's got his back to the forest. The hallucination didn't quite see it. He's had his eyes closed. And he's casting divination to try and bring Moradin's presence and just some sense of peace to this crazy area that they are in. And he's, Moradin, will you meet us here and walk with us?
You know what I would love, Jonathan?
Yeah, please.
I would love if Moradin's presence fixed this hallucination here forever, and we just have this little garden that just sits here.
That's right on target. So, visibly shaking, Bramble hears these. You begin to pray in Dwarvish, right? So you go to the old language and just begin calling out to Moradin. And hey, you expect the terrain to begin to fade. You expect the image begin to meld back into the normal terrain, but along the lines of this cavern wall, you see that it begins to harden and crystallize and form not as a two-dimensional image, but form within the cave, sprouting forth these trees that begin to hang over. This cave begins to become this simple garden. And to each of you praying, you hear the voice in your head. This is exactly where you need to be. This is what heroes are for. And sojourning takes you through dark roads. The way out is through. You're stronger together. You're doing the right thing. You feel the collective sigh of this prayer being etched forth in this visible omen of power that reaches beyond the plains. As you are agents of Arcadia, agents of Moradin's presence, agents of the lady even. And then out of the shadows you hear poof, this small little puff of smoke and this devilish imp holding a book, wearing large spectacles and a large quill pen says, hello, good day to you, sir. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Thaddeus Banks, Professor Thaddeus Banks, if that would help. Welcome to Avernus. I will be your guide while you are here. And How may I serve you? A small little red-skinned devil with a scorpion tail, his spectacles drooping down below his non-existent nose, and he pushes it back up a little bit. Yes, may I assist you in any way? Would you like a brochure, a tour, a guide, anything I can help? We're here to make a deal. He looks at you, Garandan.
No more deals, but if you have a timetable of those flying fireballs, that would be great.
Weather patterns, of course. Yeah, that'll be exactly. Well, you can purchase what we are having a special deal. If you could just part with, I'll just say 25 gold, and the weather patterns are yours.
Yeah, he'll buy that.
Okay. So when you say that, each of you notice he kind of stops, and his arms go slack, and he says, "Begging your pardon, you did I just hear you say you would purchase?"
I don't want any of those things following us anymore.
Oh, that's wonderful. And the surprise begins to overwhelm him, and he kind of like, oh, where did I put the ledger? And he begins to write down, wonderful. In surprise and excitement, he said, one weather pattern, 25 gold. Here you are. And he hands you a slip of paper that accesses you knowledge of the weather patterns here in Avernus. It's fairly accurate, as accurate as weatherman can be, of course. If you would just kindly part with the 25 gold. And as you part with the 25 gold, you hear a simple chime, and he looks at his account and says, by golly, Professor, you did it. Well, is there anything else I can help with, as I am a resident guide here in Avernus, specifically catered to those of other planes of existence. He looks at the four of you. Are you here on vacation?
I'm here to attend a party.
Ah, wonderful. Well, we have quite a few parties going on. Do you have an invitation, perhaps?
No, that's what we need you for.
Well, Professor Thaddeus Banks will definitely help you out. That's why I'm here. And you can see now he's beginning to assemble some sort of pride from the shred of dignity that he has scrapped up together. Bramble, how are you responding to this situation?
Just everything so far in Avernus has been very unexpected, and he's feeling very disoriented. Hearing from Morden obviously helped a lot, but just this imp, poofing in front of them, I think he's still kind of a bit agape.
He looks at you, Bramble, says, oh, I do believe I understand why the need for weather patterns has taken place. You have suffered quite a loss of your skin. Excuse me, unless you normally look that way. How I did it, I put my foot in my mouth.
Yeah, it didn't feel good. Is there, what else, where do we go? What's around here?
Yeah, old chum, what you need is a hospital, of course. That's the best place to go, is find a good physician here in Avernus. It's all sorts of ones. The nearest one is quite Fort Knucklebone. I'm sure Mad Maggie can serve you up with any kind of potions or ailments, anything that you can need. It's admittingly enough. We don't get too many mortal travelers, but it's quite a bit of a jolt. I'm guessing this is your first time here.
Mm-hmm. What about water?
High price for water that is partial to, excuse me, let me look through this. And he begins to fold through papers and, yes, a bit on the high side. Bottled water comes at a price here. We don't have any natural I think you call them wells and rivers and streams. Tell you what, old Professor Thaddeus will give you a free tip. Don't drink from the river. There's all sorts of demonic corruption, and most fiends know to stay away from it, but that's an old free tip right there. But yeah, Fort Knucklebone, there's quite a few physicians there. Mind you, they're all rogue physicians. They're not licensed here in Avernus, so you do get what you pay for, and word of mouth goes a long way.
So the water, do you have any with you?
Afraid I don't, old chap. Didn't really come prepared, and that's not the sort of thing I would keep on myself. to be quite honest, didn't expect any visitors today. It was just kind of a random, they got the short straw, on call here. We don't normally get visitors this far out in the wild, but apologize. Tell you what, I can accompany you to Fort Knucklebone. We can see you about the physician and see if we can make some purchases together and get you some bottled water that will help satiate that mortal tongue of yours.
Okay, I guess.
Of course. Can I get your word on that, if you don't mind? Would you accept me as a guide? He nervously looks at you, wondering if this is the method in the way you part ways or you conjoin together.
Bramble's going to look to Garandan, fearing some political something.
Allow me to be upfront. It'll just be 10 gold for the day.
And then that's the end?
That's the
10 gold and we're even?
Of course. Look, I write it out here just so you can see it in clear, plain English.
Are we going to be able to do all that in a day?
Well, I can accompany you to Fort Knucklebone for 10 gold, and that's what I ensure to do. I write here, I promise you, no strings attached. That is the string, 10 gold, and that old professor will make a sale today.
You have any form of transportation?
The madcaps like to use their little automobiles, their little machineries to get back and forth. They usually power those things with the demonic ichor. It's sort of a high commodity around here. But if you're looking for machines to travel across Avernus, old Mad Maggie can hook you up quick. High price and everything, and she's not as congenial as old Professor Thaddeus. Nevertheless, she is quite more powerful and keeps all the warlords, the renegades, and the rogues in Avernus in check. Anyone who's crossed Zariel would most likely hole up in her criminal underground. Felthran, you've been taking all this in. How would you like to cap this adventure off?
Felthran has calmed down with Hayes' speech and the change of scenery. He's slowed his breathing and regained his composure. So he's going to look at this little demon and say, I don't make deals, but I can see where you would be helpful. Please get us to the Fort Knuckle Finger Bone place, and quickly.
Felthran, as you say that, you see a very mortal human expression come over this imp's face. And with demons, you always see the crazed, maniacal, lusty look in their eyes. For the devils, like the bone devil you experienced in Tiamat's temple, there's more of a calculated, stoic, hard expression. In this moment, you could swear you see the cheekbones lower, and the lips puff out, and the eyes glaze over with a very human-like existence. And he kind of stammers and says, helpful. Yes, that is a dream I had once. And he kind of stammers out of the stupor and says, well, it's a beautiful day in Avernus for old Professor Thaddeus Banks. At your service. Off to Fort Knucklebone we go. He looks outside to make sure, holds out his hand and says, and the weather couldn't be better. And so for now, our story concludes.